remember the last time we told you not to feed them after midnight? We told you to keep them away from the light. And the most important warning of all, we told you to never, ever get them wet. You didn't listen. They're mutating.
Sir, is the building on fire?
No, that's a false alarm.
Are you trying to panic New York City?
Absolutely. So the monsters are real? I didn't say that.
Gremlins 2. The new batch.
No, clearly not. Fun, but in no sense civilized.
Well, I figured tonight, this morning, I will do something fun. So I figured, not that Quiz Show wasn't, but I just figured Gremlins 2 would be a much more, upbeat video. But Quiz Show was a very good movie, but let's see where Gremlins 2, let's see how it stands out. Let's see if it's a sequel that is going to be a trash, a try it, or is it going to give you movie poisoning? We will find out, but first, we have to take a trip back in time and see the Super Scope by Super Nintendo. And I'll show you that in just a second.
You're looking at the next breakthrough for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Introducing Super Scope 6. Remote-powered and laser-accurate. Precise to a single television pixel. It comes with 6 great games, and it's yours for under $60. All of which gets you into the game. Like never before. Super Scope 6, only for Super Nintendo. Now you're playing with power. Superpower.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that Sega Super Scope. Oh, I'm sorry. SNES Super Scope. Sega never made anything cool. So, yes, every time I see it, I still want it. I never had it, and I see that it's at under $60. Yeah, I think if you want it now, you're going to be paying a lot more. Because I think they're really hard to get. But they still look cool, and yeah, I want one.
No.
Well, I can't use it on this TV anyway.
No, it does not look cool is what I meant.
Oh, yes it does. Well, Gizmo is here to join us. So moving on from the Super Scope of greatness, now I am going to talk about Gremlins 2. This came out in June 15th of 1990. And of course, we all know the big movie in 1990 was Home Alone. This one, from what I read, it did not do as well. So, but we'll see if I like it. Yes, we do have the two clowns reviewing this. Siskel the Grouch and King of the Toilet Chair do review this movie, and yes, we know they like the first Gremlins. We'll see how they like the second one, and we'll see if I like the second one. Because from what I understand, yes. Now, in this one, I'm going to be honest. The Gremlins, in my opinion, they did get a little bit more creative in this one, I think. That's just, that's one thing I did like about it. So now, the beginning of this, they are looking to take over the old man who owns Gizmo. They are looking to demolish his little antique store because they want to improve Chinatown. So they want to kind of tear his building down.
And build stuff they don't need.
Yes. The grandpa doesn't want to sell it. So he ends up passing away, and little Gizmo is by himself for a little while. So Billy Peltzer does make his return. Now he's in the big city of Manhattan instead of Little Kingston Falls. And he's with his girlfriend Kate, who he is hoping to marry, but they are just not making enough money. So this did come out in 1990. Oh, there's some other thoughts going on here. So in 1990, there were some other movies that did come out. The Neverending Story Part 2. I already mentioned Home Alone. Oh, that's right. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead was 1991. So yes, Ninja Turtles also came out that year as well. So going back to Gremlins 2, Phoebe Cates and Zach Galligan did make their returns. Phoebe Cates we know from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and also Drop Dead Fred. And Zach Galligan, he wasn't really in much. He co-starred in a couple things, but never did any real big movies. I think he was in Waxman 2, and then obviously Gremlins. And then we also have some other co-stars. John Glover is in this as Mr. Clamp. We know him from the movie Scrooged. There's also Richard Picardo is in this. He was in some Star Trek stuff, I believe First Contact. And then we also have Richard Prosky, who plays the Dracula character in this movie, a made-up Dracula. He runs a TV show at Clamp Tower, which is the Clamp Cable Company is in this building as well. It's a building of many things. So the cable network is in there, and he has his own little monster show. It's pretty cool. And Richard Prosky was actually in Rudy. He was Father Kavanaugh in that movie. So now Billy Peltzer's parents are not in this. So the only two that make Mr. Futterman makes his appearance later on, played by Dick Miller. So Mr. Futterman is back in this later on. So anyway, so Kate and Billy are trying to make it in the big city, and Billy's manager is a redhead smoking monster. And she's one of those pushy management types who tries to suck up to the big bosses, and things don't really go her way. Let's just say Mr. Clamp notices Billy more than her. So it does get interesting, and Billy does run into Gizmo, because the Gizmo winds up at Clamp Tower. How, we will find out. I'm actually going to show the first clip now, where they are trying to buy the building from the stubborn old man we remember from the first movie. So I will show that clip in just a second.
You're attached to your business. I appreciate that. I'm attached to my business. I develop the biggest buildings in New York, and you sell little things. That's fine. Take a look, Mr. Wayne. The Clamp Chinatown Center, where business gets oriented.
Well, this is the old man being stubborn, not selling his little store. I would actually like to visit that. He's got some antiques in there. And we all know I do like antiques. So, yeah, I know somebody's already making that comment. You better not buy anything in there. So, I would buy Gizmo in a second. So, I do have to question Gizmo's taste in watching a Sylvester Stallone movie, because I guarantee Gizmo has more brains than that guy. So, he is watching stupid Rambo, and I do like how the grandfather does scold him for watching TV to begin with. But anyways, so you can tell that the old man is coughing, so his days are pretty much numbered, or his hours are numbered for that matter.
His weeks are numbered.
Weeks are numbered, yes, because 6 weeks later he does pass away, and Gizmo finds himself now alone without an owner, and they demolish the building, so he runs out of it. So now Gremlins cannot be in sunlight or they die. Here's the problem. Gizmo is outside in the sunlight, unless it is the pollution of Manhattan that is covering him, but you be the judge. So I will show the clip of Gizmo out on the loose in just a second.
Well, Lewis, it's like I've always said. If you want to find something weird, you have to go downtown.
Well, there he is. There's Gizmo in the sunlight there. So, like I said, the the Manhattan pollution could be the sunblock on this. So it'll just cause him some other problems. So he does go by a trash can. So that could be where Siskel the Grouch is hanging out. So now one of the guys from the Clamp Tower does find him. He's one of the scientist guys. And yes, he does look familiar. Not from Good Morning Vietnam. But he looks like one of the fat twins that were in that Kitchen Nightmares episode of one of the restaurants with the two fat brothers, the two fat twin brothers, who were lazy and just pretty much ate everything in sight. But no, that is not him. But that's just what they look like. Or they look like the two guys from Alice in Wonderland, Tweedledum and Tweedledee. So we do see them later on in this movie. So they are taking Gizmo to Clamp Tower, and that's okay because, like we said, Billy does work there now. So we are going to see Billy with his getting pretty much smoke puffed all over his face from her probably Camel cigarettes. So I will show that clip in just a second.
It looks like somebody hasn't read his employee manual. Doesn't it, Mr. It's unauthorized potted plant.
I spoke to him about that plant weeks ago. I talked to you about that plant.
Well, I know I was going to do something, but I just possible aphid.
Well, this is his wonderful manager, and I love how she's just puffing on that cigarette inside. And I don't know how much of this clip we got, but there's a little stupid square on the wall, and what Clamp's assistant, Mr. Forster, says is that his Kingston Falls picture is pretty much junk, and that they have proper art on the wall, which is a rectangle and triangle. So for Generation Boring, it's perfect. So they might enjoy it, but no, it's junk. So whatever. So then you got Miss Little Suck up there with her cancer stick puffing away, and she's acting like a typical manager, sucking up, being nervous, and then yelling at poor Billy, who is already kind of miserable in Manhattan. So now we get to see Kate in her wonderful shiny hat. I'm sure you're going to want to pick one of those up on eBay or a flea market because you are going to like her hat so much. So I will show you that clip in just a second.
Most advanced smart building in America with the latest in security, communications, and climate control. Now the center is just one part of Mr. Clamp's round-the-world business network, which includes construction, sports, finance, and of course, a popular line of jams and jellies.
Well, so how do you like her hat? So now, remember now, this is 1990, and she pretty much called this a, quote, smart building. It's got all these wonderful gadgets in it that sound nice. Generation Boring loves it. But of course, it doesn't really, it tends to cause more problems than it does solutions. So it's kind of like Radio Shack. They got questions, you've got answers. So, yeah, so it's very, very funny the way that the building is on these automatic spinner doors that tend to not work, and then they spin people around like a top. And then other things happen. I think the toilet doesn't flush on its own. So yeah, there's a lot of problems. It's showing that technology is nice, but it doesn't work that often. So, and I think she's kind of making fun of that at all. It seems like a very sarcastic tour. So anyways, Gizmo is in the laboratory, and we get to meet Christopher Lee, who I don't know if you remember, but he was in my review of The Stupids, and he was the evil Mr. Sender. So he plays a similar part in this. So he is the lead man in the laboratory, not lavatory. That's where Roger Ebert spends most of his time. So I will now show that clip of Gizmo pretty much in a jail cell, kind of where O.J. Simpson got really familiar with the last moments of his life. So I will show you that clip in just a second.
cute, isn't it?
That may be genetic. We're not sure yet. Oh, no.
I'm willing and I'm able to rock and roll all night. I'm ready. I'm willing and I'm able to rock and roll all night. Come on, pretty baby. We're gonna rock, we're gonna roll till the broad daylight because I'm ready.
Well, Gizmo has now been. They're showing the doctor here, Dr. Catheter, his name is. I mean, how great is that? Whoever came up with that is pretty funny. So that should be any doctor's last name for that matter, because they are a giant pain in the you know what. So yes, this is Dr. Catheter, and he is just he's not really too amused by Gizmo's dancing and those two and Tweedledum and Tweedledee there dancing around like clowns. I think they're just having fun at their job, but Dr. Catheter is not the fun type, as you can tell. So Gizmo is dancing, tries to make a run for it, and Dr. Catheter, being like his name, stuck it to him. So it put Gizmo right back in his cage, and Billy came to his rescue eventually and got him out of there. So now Mr. Clamp is up in the office, and the manager Redhead is all over his butt kissing it. So yeah, so he does notice Billy's drawing here, so I will show you that in just a second. So Billy does get noticed, and what happens is Gizmo is in Billy's drawer. So let's see if Gizmo behaves himself. So I will show you that clip in just a second.
Is excellent.
Isn't that terrific?
You've captured the whole essence of the project right here. Look at the kids with the kites. That's warmth. I like warmth. What's your name?
Billy. William Bouncer, sir.
Bill, huh? Now that's what we need here. People who produce, huh? Let's lose those elm trees, though, Bill. People see elm, they think Dutch disease.
Absolutely.
So this is Mr. Clamp here. So this is John Glover. So he's up in the office there. He wants to be more hands-on. And he notices Billy's drawing. He loves it. And all of a sudden, Billy's manager now is a Billy fan. Well, look how that just kind of turned there. So, but obviously she's thinking about her own career out of this. So she's looking to benefit her. And she just loves puffing on that wonderful Camel cigarette, which I'm sure is just sticking up the whole entire office. So it's okay. Like I said before, her days are numbered. So, but Billy is trapped in going to dinner with her. And she's making a big deal about cleaning the fish right in front of you. Well, that's good. Do they clean her lungs out right in front of him? I'm sure he wouldn't mind. So now Gizmo is kind of stuck here because now Billy has to rely on somebody to pick him up. So that means Gizmo has to behave himself. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. So he gets out of the drawer, and we will find out what happens to Gizmo. And I'll show you that clip in just a second. Well, Gizmo is multiplying, so there are lots of little fur balls that are just popping out of them, and one of them looks kind of lifeless. The other one looks kind of nasty with the stripe, and the other one is just. It seems like he ate a lot of Skittles, Starburst, Snickers, and Three Musketeers. He is incredibly hyper, or better yet, just had a sugar breakfast. He is laughing and he's just squirting things all over the place. To quote Dr. Barbet from Back to School, he looks like a lot of fun. So what happens is they lock Gizmo up in a vent, and Billy's girlfriend Kate thinks that she's bringing Gizmo home. And she is not bringing Gizmo home. She is bringing Sir Laugh-A-Lot home instead. to me, this does look like a fun evening. But for her, it isn't. So I will show you the clip of the laughing gremlin in just a second.
Try to be a little bit more careful around here. Okay, Gizmo? You don't really have the money to replace things.
It's when she picks him up and he starts going nuts with the part I like.
Kate, where did you find this guy?
In your office, where you said.
Well, this is not Gizmo.
Well, this is one of my favorite parts here with one of my favorite gremlins. This is, yes, Sir Laugh-A-Lot. And as you can tell, he is just, what? I call him Spot. Alright, so this is Sir Laugh-A-Lot here, and he just ate the corn on the cob real fast, threw a drumstick at her, and then he just pretty much threw everything else at her as well and made a huge mess. And then when Billy picked him up, he just completely spazzed. And this gremlin here did probably make me laugh the most. And I did forget to mention that Gizmo was also, the voice of Gizmo was Howie Mandel, who did Deal or No Deal. He was on St. Elsewhere and also did Bobby's World and had his own talk show. So he's the voice of Gizmo. So Gizmo is still trapped in the heating vent. So he did not at least get any water spilled on him, or at least any more water spilled. But now the monsters are in this huge clamp tower with a lot of water, electric, food. They have everything. They have everything to get into trouble with, and also pretty much a buffet at night. So, yeah, they're causing a lot of problems. Having an all-you-can-eat special that is pretty much like having Artie Lang in a Golden Corral. You're not going to have any food left. And of course, because they eat after midnight, they're all in cocoons. And this is also live TV broadcasts that are going on in this building because the cable network is there. So let's see what happens when one of the cooking shows. Could you imagine Gordon Ramsay with these little gremlins going through his oven? That would be hilarious. That would make his food even worse than it already is. So now we will meet I think it's called Irma's Kitchen, and a few gremlins decide to make an appearance. So I will show you that clip in just a second. And yes, I believe it is Kathleen Freeman who is the actress who is in this. And we know her from Blues Brothers and a couple other movies. Oh, and The Naked Gun 3 1/3. So I will show you that clip in just a second.
So let us ladle up some of our chowder noodles.
So this is Irma's kitchen getting just trashed. Hey, I would turn this on if this happened. This is hilarious. I like the one that just came right out of the pasta pot. They're throwing things in the microwave and turning it on. Wouldn't you love if this happened to Gordon Ramsay's kitchen? I would, or Emeril Lagasse's, or if this somehow happened to John Taffer's bar. This would be hilarious. Taffer's Tavern. They're throwing the pictures all over the place. Just use your imagination. This is great. So I found this part incredibly funny. I thought that I thought they were very creative during the second movie so far. So now moving on. So now the laboratory is the next, I guess, place of destination for these creatures. And there's a brain hormone that was also just drank. So now one of them becomes very, very smart. So hey, I would vote for him if he wanted to run for president. So I will show you that clip in just a second.
Look. Going on in this room because I think there are some fascinating ramifications here for the future. When you introduce genetic material of research quality to a life form such as ours, which is possessed of a sort of, I hesitate to use the word, atavism, but let us say a highly aggressive nature. For example, that fellow over near the, I believe that's a common bat of the order Chiroptera, the only mammals I might add capable.
Well, this is the one drinking the brain hormone, and all of a sudden he just pretty much grew glasses. So now that there's a smart one in the bunch, now there was one that also turned into a bat, and he found genetic sunblock. So now the one that is now a bat that can fly is now going outside, and he's safe because now he's got the sunblock in him. So I'm not going to tell you what happens when the bat does go out, but that's something I'm not going to give away. It's actually a really cool scene. So I actually fast forwarded a lot. Now I'm going to get the next clip with the guy that's dressed up as Dracula because I did want to get at least one clip with him in it, and his name is Fred. And now with his monster show, he has the smart monster on with him. And it's actually cooperating. He's now part of the show, so now he's a gremlin that is now dressed in a kind of a suit, and he's got the glasses on. He's actually more well spoken than some of our modern day sportscasters like Rob Gronkowski. So he is now on TV with Fred. So now his show is still going in Clamp Tower, which is under attack. So I will show the final clip in just a second.
He's somehow able to talk, and he's going to talk with us right now. I think the main question that people have is, creature, what is it that you want?
Fred, what we want is, I think, what everyone wants, and what you and your viewers have. Civilization.
Yes, but what sort of civilization are you speaking of, creature?
The niceties, Fred, the fine points. Diplomacy, compassion, standards, manners, tradition. That's what we're reaching toward. Oh, we along the way, but civilization, yes. The Geneva Convention Chamber Music.
Well, this is the final clip here. And this is Fred, who is the Dracula. This is Robert Prosky. And he is a very good character actor. And he decides to have his own little monster show with old horror movies. But now he figures he would interview one of the Gremlins and what they want. And the smart Gremlin says, I just want to be civilized. And then the other one pops up and he ends up shooting him with a gun. Now, why couldn't Fred have Andy Richter on there, and then the Gremlin shoots Andy Richter? That would be much more entertaining.
Who?
Oh, Andy Richter. He's the co-star on Conan O'Brien. He's horrible. So, anyway, well, Andy Richter would have trouble getting through the whole spinning door. He would end up getting stuck. So anyways, so this is the final clip I'm going to show because I don't really want to give anything away. So I did say that Siskel the Grouch and King of the Toilet Chair Ebert was going to review this, so I am going to do the Siskel and Ebert segment. So I will show you that in just a second.
Crash in the night.
Hey, where did your things go? In your office, where you said.
This is called Gremlins 2, the new batch, and here's a sequel that really suffers because it is so repetitive. Now with the original film, so much as look itself. The Gremlins run wild here and run wild some more and then some more. All that's holding the action together is a slight parody of the entrepreneurial world of a billionaire developer modeled after Donald Trump and Ted Turner. The bad little gremlins have invaded a Manhattan office building, and Zach Galligan, as the film's young hero, tries to warn his disbelieving co-workers.
This area is small furry animals, and whatever they eat after midnight.
The gremlins created when they run amok in a toy store in the building shopping mall. Brain, voiced by Tony Randall, explains on a TV show to an audience of people and gremlins the hit gang wants to be civilized.
Now, was that civilized? No, clearly not. Spawn doesn't have to stay civilized.
I enjoyed the first Gremlins movie. It was funny and also had some weakness to it that seemed to be funny as well. But this new picture is just too frantic for my taste. It starts out with a cute, good little gremlin and then all heart.
and emotion in the film disappear. The Donald Trump jokes and the Ted Turner jokes start to wear thin, and once you've seen one Gremlin creator method, it isn't really a whole lot funnier to see 100 Gremlins doing the same thing.
I completely agree with you, and additionally, it seems to me that the Gremlins in the first movie were better made, that they were more interesting as creations. We know, of course, that they're a combination of, in some shots, they're probably like Muppets, and other shots, they're probably slightly animated and so forth. They have various ways of doing this. But in this movie, they look constantly, they just look like dolls that you could kind of, were being pushed into shots or put up in front of the camera or something. In the first movie, I really had the illusion that they were genuine little creatures instead of simply props.
We hadn't seen them before, and I remember going to that movie, and and the movie held back showing what they were, and there was a great sense of discovery and wonderment about them. And here, it's true, they are right up front. They're like in a toy store display to be purchased in some way, and it makes them a whole lot less interesting.
The movie began with this little fake cartoon that starts out like it's going to be a Bugs Bunny cartoon, and then Daffy Duck comes in and they fight over who's going to get the top billing, and they finally decide that since they can't both be in the same cartoon, they might as well start the movie. I would have liked to have seen the whole cartoon.
Yeah, that annoyed me. If you're going to set up a cartoon, particularly for a picture like Gremlins 2, I think you ought to deliver the cartoon. Why frustrate us? That was all a strange way to start a picture.
Coming up next, the Hollywood directors make a...
Okay. Well, this is Siskel the Grouch, and King of the Toilet Chair does it again. I think King of the Toilet Chair, I'll start with him. I think he was having some noisy little squirts in his chair because there were differences in this one. They had, and I showed them, they had the Bat Gremlin. There was also a Spider Gremlin. There was an Electric Gremlin. They made them different in this one. I have nothing, I'm not mocking the first one at all, but I think in this one they at least looked different, in my opinion. So, and Siskel the Grouch just doesn't have a good sense of humor. I actually thought this one was funnier as well. I thought the co-stars in this were cool. I liked the Dracula guy. I thought that was great. So, I strongly disagree with what they said. They would probably like a movie with Jaleel White, Andy Richter, and Jimmy Kimmel starring in a movie. They would probably find that a delight, or what Siskel the Grouch would say, sweet. So, I strongly disagree with what they say. So, if I had to grade this movie, I would honestly give this a strong B. I honestly really did enjoy this. I thought it was fun, I thought it was funny, and I would put this on just to have a good time. I'm not mocking the first one. I love the first one. But this is a very strong sequel. Most sequels don't do that well. And this at the box office, to be honest with you, maybe my opinion is crap because it did not do well in the theaters. Maybe that's because it came out in the summer. Maybe that had something to do with it. But it had a $50 million budget, I believe, and it only made $41 million total. The first time I saw this movie was actually, it was on Thanksgiving. So I saw the second one first. And the first scene was actually Mr. Clamp putting one of these gremlins in his paper shredder. So yes, it made a humongous mess. So it looked like pretty much gooey green beans for that matter. So do I highly recommend this movie? I really do. It's definitely worth a watch. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know if you can stream the second one. You could try finding it. But yes, I do recommend just buying it where I usually say to do that, which is a flea market, a garage sale, or eBay. Or if you want to be a slave to Amazon, go right ahead. So, yes, I do enjoy this. So please comment below. Comment if you want, and thank you for watching.